Welcome and welcome back to the Light Renegades. My name is Star. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. There has been a lot that I've been sharing today that I wasn't expecting to, and this video is no exception to that. And I want to put a massive trigger warning on this video for those that might not be ready to be delving into some aspects that some might consider to be, I want to say, quite close to home. So I'm going to share right now what I'm going to be speaking of, and I'm going to be speaking of I want to say my past life, because it very much feels like a past life at this moment, at this stage, and at this time in my journey, but it wasn't that long ago. And I'm going to be speaking on my, I want to say, my party years and what that meant for me, and specifically delving into a lot of alcohol consumption and drug consumption and what this has meant for me on this path. But also I want to say how that was all part of my expression and a part of my journey, and what I was having to go through at that time to understand a lot of this world, but also to meet a lot of souls too that I was supposed to be connecting with. So please know that this gets very personal, and please have that in mind when commenting. Please have this in mind when I'm consuming a lot of my content over here. You know, there are some spaces where I don't want to be speaking about this. If you see me out in public, you know, it's a very it's a difficult expression to be in, and I try and give as much of myself as I can, but still at the same time, you know, I want to have my own personal space and privacy somewhere, which, you know, to some degree I don't get to have, because this has been my life path, and I knew that I was always going to have to share a lot of what happens. So please do respect my privacy if you do see me out in public, and, you know, if you want to be communicating with me, working with me, please go through the means of how to do that. You can email me and ask for a specific time to speak to me about all of these things, and I'm completely, I'm an open book at this point, you know, but there's a time and a space for all of that, so please have that in mind too, everyone. And I didn't know what to share and how to share it, so I'm just gonna speak, and whatever comes out I know is supposed to come out. But Teams of Light wanted me to speak about what it's felt like for me moving forward, and I want to start by saying something that I think perhaps might help this put into perspective for a lot of people. And I think I've been really surprised by some people in my personal expressions of not understanding all of this and exactly what I'm doing, because a lot of people know me. Like, you know me, you've known me for a long time, and you know exactly what I was like. And I promise you, I was the last person to leave a party. Like 3 days later, I'd still be at the same dingy spot in a warehouse, dancing my ass off, and I had the bestest time. You know, I got myself into some real dark and harrowing spaces. I watched some people very close to me get themselves into some incredibly dark and harrowing spaces, but at the same time, there was a lot of love felt in those spaces, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that. But I think the one thing that has surprised me is that, you know, I absolutely loved taking drugs. Like, there was no shadow of a doubt about that about me. I kept this very separate from my family. They had no idea about this aspect of my life, at least most of them. And it was when I came back to my hometown in 2022 that I confessed all of this to most members of my family, if not all. I think most of them know by now, so apologies to those that might catch this that haven't been told. But I confessed exactly what my life was like, my life outside of the house. So yes, I've been a double, triple agent for a very long time, everyone. And, you know, some members of my family were really taken aback by this, because in other aspects of my life, I was the model being. And, you know, I was always a soul that seemed quite lost to a lot of people. I never felt completely here, and that's exactly why I turned to drugs. And please know, I am not condoning that lifestyle. I'm not condoning that behavior. I would say to anyone, you know, please do not go down that path, because it does lead to heartache, it leads to heartbreak, and it leads to, you know, thinking about your physical vessel is the most important thing. But I would be lying if I didn't say that, you know, it helped me understand a lot of these aspects of this world, because I just didn't ever feel part of reality. I didn't know how to live life. I didn't understand life. So I ran off and I took a lot of drugs, and I danced all night. And that was my way of coping. That was my way of experiencing. And I think this is why it's baffled me, because I quit all of that. So to me, it's obvious. This path and what I'm doing must feel that good that I said no to all of that. And those that know me in my personal spaces, like, make it make sense. So I think somewhere I've had to laugh, because I feel like some people have been fighting me, but I've tried to explain that this path feels that good that I don't need that anymore. And there was no way that I would have continued on this path unless that was the truth. And the states that I feel and the vibrations that I hit in these spaces of being sat in meditation far outweighs any type of high that I've ever had in my life. And that floored me. When I eventually got to that space and time, that's when I realized that that's what I was chasing. I was chasing these highs that I knew to be true somewhere, but I just wasn't in cognizant awareness of this. My soul wasn't in awareness of that this was possible. And I remember when I started to meditate, and I thought, oh, this is what everyone's banging on about. Like, I get it. It feels so good. But now we understand that that is not everyone's understanding of meditation. But when I started to meditate, I just went somewhere else, and I went into this euphoric state of just pure bliss, and these vibrations of energy that I felt was mine, that I felt was malleable. And it was so interesting when I very first started to sink into these expressions, because I felt like my body just completely evaporated, and I felt like I turned into something else. And this is before I knew I was galactic in my expressions. So I've had a path of kind of delving into, not kind of, this is what happened. I delved more into spirit. I've always been very much connected to spirit for the entirety of my life. I've always seen things, I've always experienced things, but I blocked that out because as a kid it was just too traumatic for me. I would see a lot of dark beings now that I understand that on my path, and it would just terrified me. There were times when, well, for the most majority of my life, I haven't slept in the dark because I was terrified. I would sleep with the covers over my head. My mum would have to peel the covers off of me. She said she used to be terrified that I was just going to pass out in my sleep because it would be the height of summer, and I would tuck myself in with pillows over my head, with blankets all around me, and I wouldn't want to come out because I was absolutely petrified. And now knowing what I am, it's because I could see and experience beings and energies and entities that my family were telling me weren't true, but it was true. So tangenting there, going back to lifestyle with drugs and all of that. So I know that I was just chasing these highs that I knew to be true elsewhere, but I just hadn't ground into this expression in the here and now. And I want to say that I've met some of the most incredibly intelligent, powerful, and enigmatic beings out in the party scene, out on that lifestyle. And I wouldn't be the being that I am today unless I'd had those experiences with those people. And there was a core group of people that I met when I was really young, when I was like in my teenage years. I think I was 15 when I very first started to dabble in things, which was quite a young age. I look back at it now because I took drugs for a real long time, and I think that I thought, what was I thinking about back then? Because there's not much that goes on, I think, in a 15-year-old's brain to some degree. But I now realize that I was always ahead of my years. And this was why I sought that expression and that lifestyle, because I felt like it helped me reach spaces and states and understandings that I was just ready for. And I remember having the most philosophical debates with people at after parties, and that's what I loved. I loved taking drugs because that meant I could stay out on dances longer, listen to the music and the vibrations of what I experienced in that moment. And it also meant that I got to have these real heartfelt and incredibly I want to say authentic and genuine conversations and interactions with other people that I didn't get in my other aspects of waking life. And I felt like a different person. I was such an incredibly shy being. It's been a lot for me to be able to sit in front of camera and share the ways that I do, and to hold space with people the ways that I do. It's taken me a long time to be able to be in this expression. My whole entirety of my life, I know, has been leading up to this expression. I spent a long time in hospitality, which is now why I know that I was there for such a long time, and I didn't enjoy it. I didn't know how that I didn't know why I was in hospitality, because at that moment in time, I don't think I enjoyed interacting with other people, but it really helped me understand other people. And I know that I was there to help speak to and reach as many souls that I have this lifetime. And all of that time I was always being of service to light, but I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand what I was doing. I thought I was just living this life, and I've been very much on autopilot a lot of my life. And there'll be moments when I snap back into reality and think, why am I here? And I had many dark moments in this path when I was in my party years and just thinking, I came very close to the end. And something that I've only been shared to me recently is that, I did actually pass a couple of times in my life, and I was brought back, and I wasn't told this to be the truth. So I did get to the point of crashing out because, I went too hard. And teams of light have only told me this recently, which took me by surprise. So I know that everything that I'm doing on this path moving forward is so divinely guided. Otherwise, I just wouldn't be here. And I was surprised that, I made it through, but I know now more than ever that this has been with divine purpose. And I want to say that I don't condone the lifestyle that I live, but I want to say to those that might still be there, I promise you, if you can step away from that, you can still find those spaces of feeling connected, still feeling seen and appreciated, and seeing life through that lens of color. I realized that I enjoyed dipping into those aspects and dipping into those chemicals and dipping into those different aspects of the brain, because that's what I knew. We come here, you know, with a slate that we do not understand, that has been so dimmed down, and we forget who we are at soul's level. So I was seeking this outsider sourced expression and feeling, but now I know how to cultivate that within self, which is why I stopped doing everything that I was doing, because I knew that it was impeding on this bit that felt so great. So I think that I'm sharing this to some because I think you might be on the precipice of deciding which pathway to take. And I promise you, and those that personally know me, I would not have quit that lifestyle unless this was something so incredible. And I think that everyone that has been, you know, with me on this path for some time, and family that have seen me, you know, they've questioned it, but they know that this is the happiest that I've ever been. And somewhere it's so incredibly challenging, everything that I have to face, everything that, you know, we have to go through, and this path of being awake, you all know this is not something new. We're all going through the same understandings. But I think that to some that might still be teetering on this edge of giving up whatever that looks like to you, whatever addiction this might be, whatever infliction, you know, whatever crux this might be, whatever vice this might be, I promise you, if you can just start to have different habits and healthier habits for you. But I promise you, you are just seeking the magic that already exists. And I couldn't see this about self. So now I still get to dance for the amount of hours that I want to, because I still love dancing, I still love music, I still love the vibrations that I've always just been trying to reach into. But now I get to cultivate those aspects of energy within self. And I promise you, if I can quit that lifestyle, if at some points in my journey, if you would have told me that I was ever going to step away from that, I would have told you that you were mad, and I would have told you that that just isn't the case. I thought I was indestructible. Somewhere I didn't care enough about myself to think about my health. And now more than ever, I know just how incredibly important it is to look after this physical vessel. And I know how incredibly easy it is to end this vessel, because we are so fragile. And I think this is something that we forget. And I'm so incredibly grateful and lucky that I haven't lost you know, many souls to the lifestyle that I was living. But I know some souls that lost very, very dear souls to them, and it was it was heartbreaking to witness. And I know that so many souls that I've met on that path are so incredibly tapped into realms that they perhaps aren't in cognizant awareness of, but they were seeking that truth too. So I guess this is my plea to some that do know me personally, that might watch this. Please know that anything that I'm experiencing now, you are in direct contact with that too. Otherwise we wouldn't have crossed paths. And I find it difficult sometimes, because every single being that I've ever met has been with purpose, has been with reason. And I've really, really tried to bring some people into this path, but they just couldn't see what I was trying to help them see. And I know that that's been with divine purpose, but I hope now more than ever that people know that I was just trying to help them. I was just trying to get them onto a path that I would consider to be of better health for them. But you can't drag people onto a path that they're just not ready for. And, you know, everyone has to come to this understanding and time when the time is right for them. No point would I have been able to get to this sooner. And Teams of Light said, you know, I came this close to the wire of deciding to take this path or not. And, you know, thankfully I chose at the right time. But Teams of Light said, you know, it wasn't 50-50, but I pushed it to the edge. And they said, we didn't expect anything less from you. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that, you know, I have a team that know me to the degree that they pulled me back just at the right amount of time, and I was ready to step forward and be ready for this path just in the nick of time. And, you know, would I have had it any other way? Potentially, because it might made things be a little bit easier, because I felt like I went from 1 to 10,000, and I had to do that because I left it that short to the wire. But I know that I was there because I was trying to help others too. So this is perhaps those that are struggling with, you know, other family members or people that they are close to struggling in these cycles of addiction or whatever else. You know, please know that they have a team of light that are supporting them too, and there is nothing you can do. They have to make this decision for themselves. And, you know, please know that I'm here to support anyone on this path. And, you know, I live a pretty clean lifestyle, as it were, to some degree, but there are still things that you know, I do partake in terms of height and expansion. But I'm not going to share that out on the video as it was per se, but I will share that in personal expressions, you know, because I'm trying to keep a little bit of privacy here. But anything that I had a problem with in my previous life, I do not touch now, is what I want to share. And I think it's so important to know your own personal boundaries, and it's so important to know aspects of you that you don't want to take moving forward. Like I had to quit alcohol because it wasn't for me. There has been a death in my family. You know, my grandmother passed because she was an alcoholic, and I knew that it just wasn't a pathway for me to continue to be taking alcohol. However, I do know some souls that do partake in alcohol still, and they're very high in their spiritual practices and their path and their journey, but that's my own personal expression. So there was no one way to do all of this, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I was addicted in the sense that, in the cliche sense of it, but I wasn't enjoying life without it. So to me, that's an addiction. So I had to quit all of that. So please know that I went completely cold turkey for a while, for a time. And then I introduced other aspects that I knew was also on my path, because I think there has been some plant medicines that have been very much a part of my path moving forward. And I think this is going to be a journey that I have in helping others in those respects too. And there has been a lot of studies and researchers moving forward in terms of helping people out of certain addictions using plant medicines, etc. And that's not something I'm going to speak about here, but just to give the scope of where I am and my expression and understanding, you're going to have to know what is best for you, and you will know when the time is right to give up something, to quit something. But I promise you, there is a pathway that allows you to feel these euphoric experiences that does not touch any chemicals or any expression. And I promise you, the most profound experiences I have is when I'm absolutely stone cold sober. And I think some people don't believe me, but I promise you, 10 fingers in, 10 toes in, that is gospel. That is a pure divine truth, and I'm grateful that I get to have those experiences. And I promise you, I wouldn't have quit this unless this was so good. So I promise you, this path, it feels so good. It's like no high that I could have possibly ever imagined, and that's what I was seeking. This is an artificial high. You get to have these experiences that are real, that are true, that are grounded, that are pure divine magic that we are told isn't possible. And think back to when you're a child, when everything in life feels so sparkling and it feels so magical. You can get back to that state, and that's the state that I live in right now, and I'm so incredibly grateful that I get to be there. So I guess this is a pep talk. I guess this is a snapshot of where I've been, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I've met some incredibly amazing souls in my path, and I know that every interaction that I've had has made me the being that I am today. So please know, to those that might have been thinking I've been snubbing the past, that is not true. That is not something that I've ever said, but I know that I've been in very dark expressions with myself and with other people that, you know, I wish that we didn't have to go through, but I know that those expressions were there for divine purpose. So please know, anyone that I've met in my path, I'm so incredibly grateful for you. And, you know, I hope that you are happy in your spaces. I hope that you get to feel the light that I get to feel now. And, you know, if you ever do want help, please do reach out to me, and please know that I'm open arms to anyone that wants help in any realm, space and time with whatever you are dealing with. If I can help you, I promise you that I will. If I can put you in contact with the right people that I know can help you, if I can't personally, I will try and do my best within that. And Teams of Light are here to support you, and please know that my Teams of Light are here to support anyone. So if you are ever in doubt, call upon my Teams of Light. They're here to help you too. You know, just because you don't believe doesn't mean that beings aren't here to protect you and to help you. You know that I believe, so call upon my teams. I don't know why I've never said that before. Such a genius thing. Thanks everyone. So call upon my Teams of Light, because I believe in them, so they will be there to help you also. But I think that's where I'm going to cut it short today, everyone. I think this might be, you know, 2-parter, 3-parter when the time is right, but I feel like this might be a pep talk for some that needed it right now. But that's all for myself today. Take care.